What's up, y'all? It's your host of the Wiretap, Tony. We got a lot to talk about, man. It's been a crazy weekend with the music. This beef is continuous. Pause. But this whole situation between Drake and Kendrick has exploded, and I'm ready to talk about it. So let's spin that intro.
6 figures in, finally getting some wiggle room. Need more Lexus in the whip, in the house with some bigger rooms. Sex, religion, politics, so 3 things will get you canceled. It's the Wiretap, sweep with purpose.
All right, y'all, I'm back. Like I said in the intro, tonight we're gonna really be diving into what's been happening lately with this beef between Drake and Kendrick. Pause. But this, I love it. I love it. I love this shit. Man, we haven't had this situation in so long. Rappers lately have been tiptoeing around each other. And yesterday, the internet went crazy. Now, like I said, if you haven't been living under a rock and you've been on Twitter or X, whatever it's called now, you have been seeing the people choose sides. One side with Kendrick, the other with Drake. And it's just been a crazy time in music. I think most importantly, we got a response, right? I liked it. I'm not going to say I'm a Kendrick fan, but I did like Drake's response. I thought it was very witty. I thought he spoke on things that, we may have not known, or he was getting at everybody, essentially. I mean, he even went as far as posting, if you're familiar with Kill Bill, he posted the Uma Thurman scene where she had the sword and she was fighting off like 30 people. And I feel like that's probably how he feels right now. I think Drake definitely feels that way because it's almost like these beefs are just popping up. Well, not the Kendrick and him thing, but essentially with all these other people. I don't know if something has happened behind closed doors with this. We're not privy to that information, but Drake has fallen off with some people that we essentially thought he would be cool with. Early in his career, he had songs with Ross, had songs with Future, had songs with Metro. But it seems as if something has transpired for all these people to kind of turn their backs on him. Whether it be his fault, their fault, we don't know. Again, we're not privy to that information. But it is a beautiful thing to see. I haven't seen competition like this in forever. Now, Drake's diss, Drop Down and Give Me 50. It was dope. Like I said, I didn't dislike it. I mean, I think he definitely has to come better. But it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. I think it would have, if this would have been anyone else, that would have probably been a top tier diss. But because you're dealing with someone like a Kendrick, people expect a haymaker. And I don't think this was a haymaker. I think this was like, all right, I'm tired of y'all talking about me. I'm tired of y'all clicking up. And I'm ready to let y'all know, meaning the public, how I feel about it. Ross also dropped a response. Now, this is the interesting part about Drake's response. We don't even know if it's him, right? With the, evolution of AI, and we seen things popping up maybe about a year and a half ago where people could imitate artist's voice. They could spit the song, do the lyrics, but it sounds as if the artist that they're trying to imitate is doing the song. And when it first came out, it was kind of, I guess you would say, it was very robotic. You could tell right away that something was off. But as time went along, it kind of, and I'm looking up lyrics right now from the song, it got better. As time went along, AI improves. That's what it does. That's its main focus, to find a better way to, do what it's doing. But essentially, the song dropped, and there were rumors that this was a leak, and then there were things said about it being potentially AI. I've listened to the song quite a few times, and to be real with you, I can't tell the difference. I don't really know if it's AI. I don't know if it's him. He's definitely feeding off the energy of it. If it is him, kudos. If it's not, whoever wrote that, kudos to you as well. It's not available on streaming services. I do know that I believe that it got copyrighted. Now, what most people don't know is that with, again, the evolution of AI and the ability to imitate artists, you know, some things were put into place to make sure artists weren't losing out on money or being put in potential situations by people utilizing their voice and likeness. The song eventually got copyrighted, but I don't see Drake, and this is why I do believe it's AI. I don't see Drake not just dropping it, right? I don't see that not happening with him. With his past beefs, I'm not too familiar with the Common situation, but I do know the Meek and Pusha T situation. With Meek, it was right away, right? Meek played around, didn't drop nothing. Boom, he dropped something else again. With Pusha, though, which I think is like the only stain in that situation with him, because technically, in my opinion, I do know Drake did win the Common beef. I would actually have to go back and really listen to those songs. I'm not going to act like I did. But, you know, I trust the public, and a lot of people said he won that. And a lot of people honestly forget about it. So I do believe he won that. But the Meek situation I paid attention to, and he did his thing with that, you know. I think a lot of people had Meek coming out the victor in that situation. I don't think anybody could have predicted Meek not doing what he was supposed to as far as, you know, responding, because Meek comes from a battle rapping background. If you were familiar with his past freestyles on those DVDs, forgive me, I can't remember the name right now, but, you know, a lot of it was him either freestyling or battling. So to me, it was kind of like, oh, wow, you're not going to respond? And, you know, he had Funkmaster Flex out there, you know, enticing the music people with the idea that something was coming, but nothing ever dropped. And, you know, Drake took that momentum and went ahead and dropped back to back, which was also a phenomenal song and good diss. The Pusha T situation, though, now, if you recall, he definitely was on LeBron's show, The Shop, and he stated that the song was done, it was completed, but he felt like it was taking him to a dark place. Granted, Cole kind of did the same thing, right? And a lot of people kind of bashed Cole's head in for that. But nobody really mentioned it when it came to Drake like that. I didn't see like an uproar with it as much as Cole, or maybe I was just out the loop. But in my opinion, I didn't really see too many people kind of being direct when it came to how he handled the Pusha T situation. What I do find most interesting is, though, to me, it's like he crossed the line with his response, which was mentioning Pusha T's, I think at the time, his fiance. And that's what got things kind of hectic, right? Which is why Pusha T comes back with his response and mentions the child, the mother, and everything of that nature. You know, Pusha T really dissected that situation. And we know we'll never know what Drake said, but he felt like what he said would have taken it to a place where it might have turned into some street shit, right? It might have. I don't know. I know Jay Prince was behind him, speaking about Drake, and he had that whole community. Pusha's kind of reserved. He doesn't really talk about his doings as far as when it comes to people he may have dealt with in the street. I mean, he got his main crew, but in the sense of the things that he may have done before he made it, or even after he made it, he doesn't really indulge in outside of the, I guess you would say, the double entendres and things of that nature, where he alludes a lot to things. And I'm not saying he didn't do those things. I'm just saying he's not mentioning it in a way that would probably incriminate him, right? But again, I think that would have turned into some street shit. Whatever Drake had in his response with it, it may have turned into something that would have caused harm to a lot of people, or some people. But interesting enough, Drake does the same thing though. There's a line here, and I don't know if it's a double entendre or if he was just kind of making the, the connection with the movie, The Bodyguard. Drake, at some point, let me find it. Hold on. He says, pretty much something about Kendrick's wife, essentially referring to The Bodyguard. And here you go. It says, hugs and kisses, man. Don't tell me about no switches. I'll be rocking every fucking chain I own next visit. Hey, I be with some bodyguards like Whitney. Top say drop your little midget ass, better fucking, better drop and give me 50. Now, Kendrick's wife, her name is Whitney. And as a man with a family, the gloves got to come off. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying that's what Kendrick is going to do. I'm praying it don't turn into no street shit, but I don't know. Kendrick doesn't really speak on his ties with where he comes from, other than, being prideful about it and bigging up the people who helped him along the way. But when it comes to whatever activity he was involved in, we don't know. As most people know, I believe Kendrick grew up in a Blood neighborhood, which is one of the biggest gangs out there, the Pirus. So I'm pretty sure he's had some experiences or dealt with, that culture, that gang culture at some point growing up out there. I mean, most people that grow up in those situations at some point have to deal with it, whether, they're NBA players or NFL players or rappers or actors. People that just generally come from those neighborhoods at some point deal with that gang culture. And I don't know how it's going to be taken. I don't know if Drake is going to be able to be comfortable moving around LA. It depends. It depends. Again, we're waiting for Kendrick's response. I'm praying it comes sometime this week, pause. But we need it. We need it. With the way Ross responded in 2 hours after the song dropped was amazing. And I liked his response as well. I mean, I think it kind of plays a part in an old traditional way of beef that we know of. If you're a millennial, you know how it was back in the day. Very disrespectful, at your head. I'm talking directly to you. And he said some witty and funny things in that as well. I don't think it was no surprise that Drake potentially got plastic surgery to get his abs and all that, or his nose done. I think most celebrities wind up doing it at some point to fulfill some type of need or insecurity. I don't know. But it was funny. I thought it was funny. A lot of other people thought it was funny. I think people respect Ross because Ross has gotten through the 50 Cent situation. And when I say the 50 Cent situation, I'm not talking about the antics. I'm talking about the music, right? The antics I think 50 was doing was definitely trying to hurt Ross's image, but somehow, some way, Ross was able to surpass that. it definitely got disrespectful. 50 went as far as taking his baby mother shopping and his kid. I'm surprised that didn't turn into anything deadly. But, you know, it is what it is. I just, again, can appreciate where we are with it. I would have loved to see camps kind of go back and forth. But with Kendrick no longer being at TDE, and it's not to say he doesn't have the friendships or the relationships with TDE, but he's no longer considered a part of that camp. Now, it's funny, right? Because, and in no way, shape, or form am I trying to really connect the two. Well, I am, but I'm not saying they were similar situations to an extent. Now, again, us millennials, we have been through some situations in music, right? This is kind of reminding me of the Ja Rule situation. The only difference is, you know, Kendrick's not a new artist. Kendrick wasn't shot 9 times. Kendrick didn't have this gangster allure around him as much as 50 did when 50 kind of came, when he did come into the game. But there was a lot of clicking up when it came to Ja Rule. There was a lot of clicking up. I know Eminem, I think, only got into it because Rule mentioned Haley, or somebody from Ja's camp mentioned his daughter. But essentially, there was clicking up to deal with Ja. And recently I watched, and not recently, I'm going to say maybe like a few months ago, they came out with a Murder Inc. documentary. And I think how they handled it is probably why it led the way it led. Rule was definitely trying to respond, wanted to respond, but Irv was trying to take the high ground. And you can't do that with 50. You can't take the high ground with 50. You got to get in the mud with him. But I think it's similar in that sense, because here is someone who's at the height of their career. I don't know what type of genre to really put Drake in, because he does do it all. Ja mainly, you know, went back and forth between R&B and rap. I mean, essentially on his R&B songs, he did rap, and he had a few songs where he tried to sing, you know, with the raspy voice and all that. But he was popping. Like, Rule had it. He had everything in his hands. He was the man around that era. And then when 50 comes along, and that was some personal issues that got into the music business, 50 took the opportunity to make Rule look soft, right? He played into this idea that Ja wasn't who he said he was, and people kind of started leaning towards it because we weren't getting no response. We got a few on mixtapes. I know Black Child responded, a few other people responded, but essentially the beef was really between 50 and Rule, and we didn't get what we really needed out of that. And I think that's essentially why Rule ends up losing that, and losing it badly to the point where it pretty much ended his career. And listen, I'm not in these positions where some of these celebrities are, so I'm not even going to say in his career, but musically, no one wanted to hear from him. So let's put it like that. 50 got it to that point where no one wanted to hear from him musically. The most interesting part, though, is 50 turned around and did the same thing that Ja was doing with 21 Questions. It's the same type of song when you really think about it. But, you know, by then it was kind of too late. And, you know, 50 had his run. Now we fast forward, and like I said, the dynamics of it is different, but here we have people that it may appear as if they're clicking up, because of the disdain they had for Drake. Again, I don't know if Kendrick's response was, I'm not going to say that. His response was directed to them. I don't know if he knew Future and them had a problem. We don't know that. Because for the most part, nowadays, most music is sent through emails, vocals, all that stuff. So if I need you on a song, I could potentially just hit you, bro, I need you on this song. All right, bet. I'm going to do the song. Matter of fact, this is what I want to speak on. I'm going to mention that. Boom. That's how it could have happened. Or Kendrick could have known. But I don't see Kendrick really needing to click up to really deal with Drake. I think he has the capability. He has the skill set. He can rap his ass off. I think people kind of got lost in the art form of what Kendrick does. Kendrick is very artistic in my mind. That's my opinion. Everything has a meaning with his songs. I don't think he ever does a project without having some sort of meaning behind it. It has to have something that's in reference to where he is in life or what's important in life for him in that moment. That's just kind of what I get from it. I wasn't a big fan of To Pimp a Butterfly when it first dropped. I mean, I ran Good Kid, Mad City into the ground. I bought it. And then, you know, the streaming thing happened. So it was like, oh, I bought it. And then now we got streaming. But for the most part, that's all I listen to. I even still go back to it till this day. I didn't appreciate To Pimp a Butterfly until I got older. So I think Good Kid, Mad City came out when I was 22. So when I'm 30, To Pimp a Butterfly sounds completely different. My mindset is different. I'm in a different atmosphere. My issues in life are different. So the album, for me, when I heard it again, I was like, well, this was really a dope album. And for him to make that at such a young age, it's kind of telling because I feel like, oh, like if he made this at this age, I don't know how old he was at the time, but I know he had to be in his mid-20s. There's a lot of wisdom there with him. So when I went back to it, like I said, I had some experiences in life, things changed. I could appreciate the album more. And I think that's another thing I kind of want to get into, right? I don't want it to get to a point where we lying, right? Now, Ross and Drake have been going back and forth since probably last night, and they have jokes going back and forth, right? Drake released a text message that he shared with his mom, which I found to be interesting. I probably wouldn't have shared that, but, you know, I'm not him. And, you know, Ross throws his jabs back. And I just don't want it to get to a point where we lying about the numbers and the lifestyle that some of these people are living, right? Ross is far from broke. Ross is not broke. So to keep trying to make that man appear as if he's broke, he's not broke. I would hope he's not broke. I'm not going to say that. I don't know. But from the way he lives and moves, it's only safe to assume that he's not broke. So I don't think he's broke at all. To say that Ross needed Drake for his career, that's blasphemous. Ross has been out since, in my opinion, since 05 maybe. I know he had a song maybe in 01, 02, but essentially he's been out since 2005 and he's continued to make music. He's lasted very long in this game. There have been so many rappers to come and go, and that hasn't been Ross. So that's the part I don't like. Don't start lying about these people's numbers, what they do and how they move, because you're trying to fulfill some type of quota with fans. But let's really stick to the facts. Let's really base these songs around facts. You know, not assumptions. Know what you're talking about. I think what made Pusha T diss so great towards Drake was the fact that he had information that no one knew of. And it made people kind of look at Drake a little different, right? Not a lot of people, but it made some people look at Drake different. Like, wow, that's how you move with that and handle that. So it's like, now it's like your character's being judged. But I don't want it to get to that point. That's two things I don't want. I don't want the violence and I don't want the lies. Don't be lying to us about that. People are online right now going back and forth about who wrote what, who's ghostwriter, who did this, who did that. And it's just nothing but speculation at this point, when it really needs to be based in facts. That's what I want the beef to be about, facts. I want good bars, great beat, and facts. I think one of the greatest songs that come from, you know, that competitiveness in rap, No Vaseline, and I meant to say songs, No Vaseline, Ether, what's another, what was it, Hit 'Em Up. I think a lot of those songs were great because people stuck to the facts of what was going on and what these people were really like. No one really tried to veer off from the fact that these people are successful. They're rappers, successful rappers. So to sit here and say, yeah, he broke or he not writing his own song, like no one can say that because everyone in rap, from my understanding, has help. Matter of fact, if you're one of these big rap people like myself, no one said shit when Eazy-E wasn't writing his own shit. He told you Cube was writing his shit, but nobody said nothing. And my understanding that ghostwriters are not really people who sit there and write the lyrics. They might help you sing the hook a certain way. They might change this word and this sound a little better. But no one is sitting there writing a full verse, essentially, when it comes to some of these big artists. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It definitely does happen. Because Diddy was definitely known for getting a verse from somebody. And I'm pretty sure other rappers do it too. But I just want people to stay with the facts when it comes to this beef and shit. Again, I think Drake's diss was great. I think Ross' diss was great. I think Kendrick definitely has something that's about to blow everyone's mind. I'm more interested in knowing what he's going to say, who's produced it, when is he going to drop it, because everything is definitely strategic at this point. And again, I don't know if that Drake diss was AI or Drake. This could have been a strategic move. This could have been a move to bait Kendrick out and like, let me see what you're doing so I know what to write. But we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come right back. All right, y'all, we back. We just took a quick break. And like I said, this part is mostly going to be focused around the beef with these two artists and just kind of just going down the history of rap beef. Like I said earlier, I really want this to kind of just stick to music and facts. I've been on Twitter for like the last 2 days, just dissecting everything, going through comments, seeing people's viewpoint. And it's a lot of people out there who feel that Drake is going to win this. And I can understand why. Like I said, his history, his only, staying is the Pusha T situation. But I feel like he's not. And I'm going to tell you why. So the other night, I decided to go through Kendrick's catalog, features, the whole nine. I can admit that some of the music that Kendrick puts out will go above your head. I'm not one of those people who can catch lyrics right then and there. I definitely have to re-listen. Even sometimes go and read the lyrics to figure out what's being said. But earlier in Kendrick's career, I felt like he was more direct in his approach with his lyricism. And listen, there's music and then there's the music business, right? I believe that the fan base expands just the black community. And you kind of have to feed other people or other demographics in order to reach a certain height within music. I think all artists go through it. I don't think any rapper that's on that level strictly stuck with like a boom bap, which I love. I do love boom bap rap. But I think eventually everyone has to cross over into some kind of demographic in order to pass a certain ceiling. Now, like I said, To Pimp a Butterfly was very different for me in my 30s than it was in my 20s. But as I'm listening to his earlier music, and this is just my theory, Kendrick always been with the smoke. Just from some of the features I listened to and broke down, I'm like, bro, this seems almost strategic, and getting to this point was all planned out. Now, I don't know if it was always directed towards Drake, but I do feel like Kendrick has been preparing for this moment since he got in the game. I think he understood who he was and where he was trying to take things and what he was trying to be. And in knowing that when you become king, you got to know that someone's going to come for the crown. With most people crowning Drake in that #1 spot because of the hits he's produced, in the sense of the songs and music he's dropped, and also helping people that never had #1s get #1s. I think a lot of people gave him that crown, right? Because it's like Drake makes fun music. I think Drake definitely has the ability to be more lyrical, but a lot of his music is straightforward. You don't have to overthink it sometimes. It's like when you catch the lyric, you automatically know what he's talking about, and he's kind of stayed in that pocket for a while now. Like I used to say, when Drake raps, it's almost like he's talking to you. It's almost like a conversation in a sense, right? Some of the songs that he comes out with, especially talking about women or becoming more than what he was, it's always this kind of straightforwardness with him. There's not too many double entendres. And that's what most people want. I'm not going to hold you. Most people don't want to sit down and think and try to figure out what the hell you're talking about when it comes to rap. We've gotten so far away from that. And this is no disrespect to Southern music, but I think that's what I mostly appreciated about Southern music. I'm a big lover of certain artists from the South, one being Project Pat. I never had to figure out what Pat was talking about. Never had to figure it out. I knew what he was talking about. It was direct. The beat was hard. What he was saying was hard. And the song was just tough. But sometimes when I'm in my lyrical miracle mood, yeah, I want to hear that. I want to hear the double entendres. I want to figure out what you're saying. But in this instance, Kendrick's not going to win like that, in my opinion. And I think he knows that. I think he knows that everything that he's about to say is going to be direct and I hope disrespectful. But I know most of it is going to be direct. I don't think we're going to have to sit here and try to figure out what he's saying or what he's talking about. You don't do that in beef, right? You don't try to lyrical miracle it in beef. I've never actually seen that done. Now that I think about it, in all the dishes I've ever heard, lyrically, it's not the best. But it's shocking. It's what we want to hear. It's funny, but it's never like too lyrical to the point where you got to sit here and break it down and figure it out. And a lot of, to me, Kendrick's earlier music was like that. It was definitely direct. like I said, I think when you want to get to a certain level, you do have to do certain things in order to get to that level. Step in certain markets. And Drake's done it too. And I think that's the one thing that I found to be funny in his response. Him mentioning, him stepping into other lanes and dealing with other artists. I can't remember. Let me look this up. Because when he said it, I'm just like, I probably would have done the same thing when he said Maroon 5 need a verse. And I'm like, Drake, come on. Have you not worked with artists in other genres that potentially needed a verse? That's the game. When you're trying to widen your fan base and exceed from a certain level, you do that. All the big artists have done it. Jay, Nas, 50, all of them have done a song that we would be like, oh, okay. And I think for me, I think the first time I really seen that, and I know it was done prior to, but I'm just saying, stepping into my own consciousness and listening to music on my own, was Jay's Linkin Park, what was that, MTV Plug or something like that? I can't remember the name, but when he did lyrics over the band's instrumentals. And that was different, but that was him crossing over into another market. That was him expanding his audience. And you got to do that as an artist. You can't just sit here and just hope you elevate over time. I think a lot of, like I said, those artists who we deem to be in the top 10 have done that at some point if they were fortunate enough. Like, I can't think of a Biggie song where he crossed over, but I'm pretty sure if he would have lived long enough, he would have. The same with Pac. I watched his documentary a few years ago that was on Hulu, and he was interested in certain songs I wouldn't think he would have been. So that's telling me his mind was already expanded. So eventually he probably would have gotten into those kind of lanes. Like I said, it's just phenomenal to see. I'm desperately waiting for Kendrick to respond. I need that response because I know it's going to be some fire. And interesting enough, like I said, I've been on social media just checking to see what I could find, see if there's any hints to anything. And no one's from Kendrick's camp is doing anything. I mean, you had people kind of coming out the woodworks. But as far as like getting a hint that something may be dropping, the most I think I've gotten is maybe some intel from other podcasts or people who really aren't relevant to the situation saying that they know something is about to drop. But when it comes to posting and all that, Kendrick really is not a social media user. The only time he really uses it is when he's promoting something. So I feel like when it drops, it's just going to drop. And I pray it set the world on fire. I'm rooting for Kendrick to win this situation. And that's not to say I don't like Drake. I definitely like Drake. I love a lot of his music. But I just feel like when it comes to the artistry of it, he's just not on the same level as K-Dot. And I could be wrong. I could be. Like, I honestly was shocked that I was impressed by his response. And maybe that's my fault. And maybe that could be Kendrick's fault. Maybe we sleeping on him. You know what I'm saying? That could be the case. But I'm just ready. I'm ready to go back and forth. I'm ready for all the smoke, anything. I'm ready. And I'm going to stand on my hill with it. So if K-Dot comes out the loser in this, I'm going to die on that hill. I'm not about to switch sides. My stance is my stance. But I just hope this sparks, some competitiveness in rap. I feel like we haven't had that in a while. And we may have had it, but I felt like nobody was like straightforward with it. You know what I'm saying? No one was really like, I'm talking to you. And essentially, with Cole not being in this situation, everyone feels like they can come for that third spot, which to me automatically would be Future, in my opinion. He's an incredible artist, hit after hit. I don't think anybody could have projected Future's run to be as long as it's been when he first came out. But he's here, and he's been doing his thing. I got to listen to We Still Don't Trust You. It's a good album, in my opinion. If I had to rate it out of 10, I would probably say a 7.5. And that's because, for me, the album is like a setting album. And what I mean by that is you got to listen to it a certain time of day. It's just not something you're going to just put on when you first wake up in the morning or in the middle of the day. It's definitely a night album. Maybe, after you got a few drinks in you, you got something nice with you, and you want to put on something smooth, that's not too lyrical miracle, that's not too trappy, that's not too, egregious, I guess you would say. I don't know. But it's definitely one of those albums, like I would throw that on after leaving the bar or something. Or, me and my girl going out somewhere that night, I would throw that on. Honestly, I have a trip coming up and I'm going to Arizona. I'll probably be listening to that a lot in Arizona. We got a lot of things we're doing out there. And for that setting, that warm weather, it'll definitely be a good experience with that album being like the theme songs or theme music for that trip. But all in all, I can't wait. I'm hoping more of this is to come. Pause. Whether it be from Kendrick, Drake, Ross, everybody that's involved. I'm waiting for everybody that's involved to drop a direct diss track and really put rap back into a space that it hasn't been in a long time. Like I said, I just hope it don't turn into no street shit. I don't see it turning that way. These artists have a lot to lose, especially more than the artists that was out back then. So, let's keep it peaceful and keep it on wax. This is your host of the Wiretap, Tony. Thanks for tapping in. See y'all next weekend.
6 figures in, finally getting some wiggle room. Need more Lexus in the whip, in the house with some bigger rooms. Sex, religion, politics, so 3 things will get you canceled. It's the Wiretap, sweep with purpose.